Is all yours.
Yeah, so if you don't mind if I ask a quick question, do you have a copy of Humanism 3?
No.
You know, you do follow Humanism 3?
It's a framework, yes.
Okay, it is your framework.
Yeah.
Can you, using the document of Humanism 3, debunk a single prescriptive statement that I make?
Well, your prescriptive statements were just something you made up based on your personal interpretations of it. And,
So secular Humanism 3.
yeah, I was in the middle of talking, Andrew.
So it's Humanism 3.
If you want to calm down when I'm talking, that'd be great, thank you. Yeah, what you did was you said, I think this is what the manifesto says, so therefore I'm going to interpret it this way and bring my own prescriptions. Well, Andrew, your prescriptions are your prescriptions, and that is literally a straw man because it is your own interpretation of secular humanism, which doesn't align with what everyone else thinks secular humanism is. You claim I don't know what an ad hom and things are. Trust me, I debate flat earthers all the time. But yeah, I don't have to argue against your personal prescriptions. We can just talk about what secular humanism is better for society. None of the things that you mentioned are about society. They're just what you don't like about secular humanism. What I'm just going to ask you is very simple.
Humanism.
Yeah, what I'm going to ask you, Andrew, is very simple.
How long are you going to filibuster, dude?
Well, I was literally about to ask a question. If you,
Yeah,
if you can calm down and let me finish my sentence, then you can respond.
Craig,
right, what
Craig,
I am going to ask you
chill
is...
out, Craig. Stop spurging, Craig.
What I'm going to ask you, Andrew...
Craig.
I'm like 3 words away from the end.
Craig. Stop spurging. Calm
are
down.
you okay?
Calm
Do
down.
you need a
We'll
moment?
get to the question. Go ahead, Craig.
Do you need a moment, Andrew? It's
Calm
okay.
down, Craig.
If
Chill
you need a
out.
moment to take a breath, that's
Go ahead,
absolutely
Craig.
fine. Yeah.
Craig,
Oh,
this is a
Craig.
great time to ask the question.
What I'm going to ask you, Andrew, is
Spurging,
because
Craig.
you failed to do that in your opening, could you explain to us why Christianity is better for society?
Yeah.
Instead of just
Yeah,
attacking
here.
your own views of society.
So let's make this really simple,
Yeah.
right? So Craig says here, he says, well, that's your interpretation of the Humanist Manifesto. Do you see the problem?
Yeah.
Everybody's
That
going
wasn't
to
my
have an
question.
interpretation of the Humanist Manifesto. Thus, if everybody has an interpretation of the Humanist Manifesto, including me, we can make prescriptions based on it, Craig. So now I'm making prescriptions based on the Humanist Manifesto for what? Society. Okay? You are asking about Christianity. I told you that Christian ethics are better for society because I can refute the prescriptions made in the Humanist Manifesto that I just made in the Humanist Manifesto. You, Craig, cannot refute a single prescription I made off a single tenet in the Humanist Manifesto using your own manifesto. Do you understand that?
Yes, Andrew, I completely understand
So
that.
doesn't that have a society entailment,
So,
a societal entailment, Craig?
Would you like me to answer the question, or are you just going to talk when I
I
talk?
can't wait. Go ahead.
Do you need a minute to calm down? It's fine. We can take 2 minutes, and you can... Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, get to the answer,
okay.
please.
Yeah, so again, what you haven't done is explain why Christianity is better. You just said, I think it's better because I don't like secular humanism. That's not explaining why Christianity, what ethics, what morals about Christianity make it better for society. What you've done is simply attack secular humanism. You haven't given me a single reason why Christianity specifically is better. What you said is Christianity is better because I don't like these things about secular humanism, and I want you to tell me why these things about secular humanism is bad. But Andrew, you aren't here to attack secular humanism. You're here to defend Christianity. So you failed to do it in your intro, so can you just give me a single reason specifically without attacking secular humanism, because that's what flat earthers do. You're acting like a flat earther. So flat earthers attack the globe instead of saying why flat earth is better. So instead of attacking secular humanism, could you give me a reason why Christianity is the thing that is better for society? Tell me what ethics, what morals.
Yeah, because when I make prescriptions based on a Humanist Manifesto, I can debunk those prescriptions using Christian ethics. You can't debunk those prescriptions using the Humanist Manifesto.
Well, go on then, debunk
That's
them.
why it's better. Okay, here, I'll show you. Let's give you an example. If we can go through these, we can get through
Well,
it.
that'd be wonderful, yeah, because what I would like to hear is reasons why Christianity is better, not
Yeah,
reasons
I
why
do.
you dislike secular humanism. This isn't about feelings, this is about reasons.
Let's do this, perhaps, so that we're not talking past each other. Are you willing to steel man my argument here? Can you steel man it?
Well, your argument would be based on your particular version of Christianity, which is, which again?
Can you steel man my argument, Craig?
Which argument?
The one I just made, Craig.
Your argument is you don't like secular humanism. These are the things I don't like about secular humanism, so I'm going to say secular humanism can do these things, and that means that secular humanism is bad. That's what you said, Andrew. You have given me a list of things that you think you can prescribe based on the Humanist Manifesto, right? That's what you've done, correct? Right? So therefore, you are saying, well, these are the prescriptions that I think I can give based on secular humanism.
Why do I think Christianity is better? What's my argument? Christianity.
You haven't said yet. You've said what you've said, Andrew, is that Christianity can debunk these things, but you haven't explained how it can debunk them.
Okay, let's
give me specifics
here.
related to Christianity.
Let's do it.
Debunk the things about secular humanism you don't like. Because so far you've given me no reasons why Christianity is better.
Greg, I'll do it. The prescription for one. Do you agree that the first tenet for secular humanism is knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis?
That's what I said if we go back to the slide, which you didn't present any.
Why do I need to present a slide?
Well, it's because we've got a big thing up there to present slides, and I thought it'd be nice to.
I have a slideshow. So anyway.
Yeah, because one of us prepares for the arguments. The other one,
I didn't prepare for the arguments because I didn't have a slideshow?
Yeah, Andrew, you've done a million debates like this. This is my second. I thought I'd do some research and prepare and, give something for the audience to look at. But,
can we get back to this?
So, yeah,
do you agree, yes or no, tenet one, knowledge?
I did say yes. Maybe you have problems hearing, but carry on.
Craig, you need to calm down, bro.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm waiting for your...
calm down.
What I'm doing, Andrew, is I'm waiting for your argument, but you're yet
I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Yeah, we are clear.
Okay,
you haven't yet given an argument for your position.
Okay, so my prescription to that, Craig, is the birth rate is low, therefore all women must be forcibly bred, and experiments must be conducted on them to maximize fertility and thereby maximize human flourishing because science, and that is good. Now, Craig, that's what I read from Tenet 1, right? Can you use any of the tenets in the Humanist Manifesto 3 to debunk that prescription or tell me why that prescription's bad?
So still no reasons why Christianity is better. That's what I'm asking here. What you're saying is explain why this is good.
Because
I've yet to hear why
okay, let me explain.
You said you can debunk that using Christianity.
Then I'll explain. Yes. Yeah. So under Christian ethics, forcibly locking up women and doing horrible things to them would be a violation of God's law. It would be a violation of Jesus Christ's law to man. So because of that, Christians would say, no, you can't lock women up and forcibly breed and experiment on them. You're not allowed to do that, Craig. Now, Craig, I just gave you a demonstration of how Christianity would debunk this. Now, Craig, can you use the Humanist Manifesto to do it? Great.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Well, so your prescription is a straw man of secular humanism. It's all right. I can explain why. Right? Because secular humanism you've gone that there's a low birth rate, therefore we have to do this. Secular humanism doesn't say there's a low birth rate. Read the tenet again for me.
It says knowledge in the world is derived by observation, experiment, and rational analysis.
And then what was your prescription?
My prescription, based on my interpretation of this, is that the birth rate is low, therefore all women must be forcibly bred. Experiments must be conducted on them to maximize fertility and therefore maximize human flourishing because science, and that is good.
So you're saying that secular humanism makes a low birth rate?
No, I'm saying that the interpretation here prescriptively and what I'm reading is that this prescription would not in any way counter that tenet.
Well, the fact that there's low birth rates isn't a bad thing. It's not low birth rates, it's lower birth rates.
Is locking women up and breeding them a bad thing?
No, we wouldn't.
That's not a bad thing? Or it is a bad thing?
When I'm in the middle of a sentence explaining something, that's when you be quiet and listen. I know you're used to talking
I know. I'm way out of line, Craig. I know.
Yeah, but if you let me finish my thoughts, it would be helpful. If I can finish what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead.
So secular humanism is about harm, and locking people up and doing experiments on them is causing harm, and they wouldn't do that. A lower birth rate doesn't necessarily mean that things are bad. It just means that there is less people than having lots of people. Now, an extremely large birth rate has many problems. So we can look at what large birth rates cause: poverty, broken families, people being homeless, lots of things like that. So there's no reason secular humanism would, if there is a low birth rate, go and then lock people up and experiment on them, because that is not necessarily a bad thing. And having a slightly lower birth rate can actually help humans flourish. As a secular humanist, we're all about human flourishing, and having a slightly lower birth rate will actually help because it allows better standards of living, less poverty, less problems, less children being abandoned, less family and societal problems from having too many people around. So you have come up with your prescription, which is a prescription I don't agree with. So I don't have to accept your prescription.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so
if I don't have to accept your prescription, I don't even have
Yeah.
to debunk it. That is your prescription.
Yeah.
And it's not what any secular humanism would say. In fact, that prescription is a logical impossibility based in secular humanism because it includes doing harm. And secular humanists would not do something that includes harm. So Andrew, whether you realize it or not, and whether your audience realizes it or not, that prescription that you have come from, your interpretation, is a straw man of secular humanism.
a prescription's a straw man?
Your prescription is, because your prescription is based on interpretation that no secular humanism would come to the conclusion of. It is a logical impossibility that secular
logical
humanists would
impossibility.
lock people up and do experiments on them. So to think that a humanist manifesto could include that as a prescription means that you have no clue what secular humanism is.
Okay.
And that's fine. If
now,
you
Craig,
don't know what secular
Craig,
humanism
I've just
is.
let you ramble for forever, right?
So you said...
Craig, calm down now.
Okay, carry on with your point. Sorry,
So,
I've had the red.
Here we
I
go.
apologize.
Knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, rational
Yes.
analysis. This is a descriptive claim, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we make prescriptive claims off of descriptive claims?
If you want.
If you want. So if I were a humanist and I read that, whose interpretation would it be up to as to how it was applied or what the
Well,
prescription
what
was?
secular
Stop. Hang on.
Oh, you
Hang on,
asked me a
Craig.
question,
Craig.
right.
Oh, was I done? Calm down.
You asked the question.
What I'm asking you specifically is, if it is the case that the person reading it is going to be the person who makes the prescription, okay, then if I make a prescription here and it's not debunked by any of the rest of the Humanist Manifesto and you're going to some external source, in your case, well, you see, there's a logical impossibility because secular humanists wouldn't do that.
Yes.
That doesn't tell us shit, Craig. I'm giving you a prescription based on your first tenet.
It's not
Hang
that-
on, stop. Based on your very first tenet. I need you to use the actual manifesto itself to tell me how it conflicts with that prescription. What you're doing is you're saying, I don't like that prescription. That's great. Nobody gives a shit what you like. Show me in the Humanist Manifesto where it is that it actually debunks this prescription or says this prescription's wrong or says this prescription isn't humanist. What I'm claiming is that that is humanism.
Okay.
That is a humanist doctrine. You need to show me within the Humanist Manifesto how it's not.
I already did that by explaining that the Humanist Manifesto doesn't say harm. It is about not doing harm. And again, Andrew,
Show
you
us.
are going back to your own interpretation. Now, secular humanism doesn't have one person's interpretation to take into account. Secular humanism is based on a collective, these shared experiences. We don't take the Bible. We don't take one person.
We need you in the audience to remain quiet, please.
We don't take one person's interpretation
It's
and
not gonna
say
help
that's
him
what we're
anyway.
going to stick to. Okay, we don't go, this is the thing that we say because this person wrote this and that is what we stick to. As humanists, we have collective experiences. We will get together and say,
Do you write them in a manifesto?
yes, because that's a group of collective experiences.
No kidding. You have collective experiences and you
Yep,
put them in a
and
manifesto.
So what we would
I'm
do,
looking at
do you
is
want me
this
to answer the
collective
question or are you going to
manifesto.
jump in and
How
not
long
let me?
are you going to take to answer the
Well,
question,
I let you talk
Craig?
for a while to
Yeah,
give the
but Craig,
question,
you
so
can't
let me answer.
filibuster the
Are
debate.
you afraid of me answering the question,
I
Andrew?
just want you to actually
I'm trying
use
to,
the
Andrew, if you're
manifesto.
afraid of me answering the
Gentlemen,
question,
all right,
just say so.
gentlemen.
Just
Hold on, let me
use
pull
the
you apart.
manifesto.
If you're afraid
Craig.
of me answering the question, then
Gentlemen,
that's
hold
fine.
on 1 second. Let me pull you apart just to reset here. Andrew, can you ask your question one more time?
It's really simple, okay? Yes, I agree. You guys all have collective experiences, and you put them in a thing called the Humanist Manifesto, which you just agreed to. Using this Humanist Manifesto of your collective experiences, I gave a prescription. Can you also use that Human Manifesto to debunk that prescription? Tell me why that prescription's wrong using the manifesto itself. I think you can't. I think you can't do it, Craig, because it doesn't tell you shit. It doesn't tell you anything.
Once again,
Go ahead. Show me. Show me in the manifesto itself where that prescription conflicts with humanism. Because I'm saying it's a greater form of humanism than your humanism.
are you done?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, now take a deep breath and let me talk, okay? Good boy. There we go. Calm. Right. Once again, the Human Manifesto says no harm. It's about not doing harm. It's about human flourishing, okay? I'm not going to use the exact words because interpretations are a thing. But as secular humanists, we would get together and say, how do we deal with this thing? It's not a particular prescription of things that you have to do. It is an ethical framework. You would take the framework and you would say, how do we deal with this problem? You would get together as a society and using our shared experiences, empathy towards each other, the want to do less harm, how do we deal with this issue? Secular humanists do not do harm. That is the idea of secular humanism, to not do harm, to flourish. So I'm going to use the principles. I don't have to use the specific manifesto, because I could just get into the Bible and ask how stoning people on the Sabbath because they went to work is good for society, or how not letting women speak. Andrew, your Bible says that you can beat your slave as much as you want, as long as they can get up afterwards. That comes for a good society. No, I can tell you why Christianity is not good for society, right? But you have not given me any reasons to do it. What I'm not going to do is engage with your personal interpretations of secular humanism, because personal interpretations don't matter. Collective decisions as a society is what matter. So you individually deciding this is the prescription of secular humanism is not how secular humanism works.
Perfect.
And what you've done is said, we have got a set of rules by God that we can set out by. We've got a normative authority to go to. But that normative authority also drowned the entirety of humanity because he didn't like what they were doing. To use a normative authority that is a psychopathic deity is a very silly thing to do. We don't need a normative authority. We need collective experiences and how that will affect humans in the future.
Got it. So I just want to make sure. I'll steel man.
Wait for the applause. Come on. Thank you.
Let's hear some real applause.
All right, guys, come on.
All right.
My turn. Come on, louder.
All right. We'll return
Come on.
to the debate.
Hey.
We'll return to the debate. Go ahead, Andrew.
Never
All
an
right.
L.
I just wanted to move back to this very quickly. I just want to make sure that I steel man your position in the best faith I possibly can.
You've failed so far.
Okay, that's why I'm trying again. So let's say
You're very trying, yes.
when you say it's the collective experience of us that matters,
Yes.
and the interpretation of this framework.
It's the collective experiences
Yeah.
and how that relates to the framework.
Okay. In the collective experience of these people utilizing this framework, they would be able to utilize this framework to debunk that prescription, correct?
I just did.
You utilize collective experience to debunk my prescription.
Yeah, collective experience of people being locked up and kidnapped and experimented on being a shit thing to do. The collective experiences would say that humanity wouldn't do that, because the collective experience of humanity knows that that is a bad thing to do that causes harm and doesn't help people. There is no way that secular humanism would lock people up and experiment on them, because that causes harm. Secular humanism does not cause harm. We would not find a solution to something that includes purposely causing people harm. So you are coming up with this prescription because you do not understand what secular humanism is.
I do understand.
You seem to think that secular humanism is anything
When I
that
ask a
isn't
question,
Christianity.
please don't take 2 minutes, right? Just give a
Oh,
quick
I'm sorry.
answer.
If you watch a lot of shorts, should I play like a video of like Subway Surfers as I talk at the same time? Is that going to help?
So anyway, back to this. The reason is because we can't get anywhere. If you filibuster on a single answer forever and ever and ever,
Again, if you've got a short attention span, Andrew, that's not my problem.
So the point is that if it is the case that it's just due to collective experience, using this as just a framework, what's to stop the collective experience from making prescriptions just like mine, based on whatever their collective experiences are?
It's a logical impossibility.
Stop.
You asked me the question.
Well, can I finish asking it?
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, what's to actually to stop the collective from coming up with, well, for one thing, they can change the manifesto itself, right? It's already been changed multiple times.
So is the Bible, multiple times.
Nobody's disputing that. But what I'm saying is that inside of this, if you have a collection of people who say, for instance, to, I don't know, lock up all children, right? Prescriptively, that's what humanists decide is going to help the most when it comes to knowledge of the world being derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. They're using rational analysis to determine children need to be locked up until they get to a certain age. What inside of the Humanist Manifesto itself is demonstrating that that should not happen? What is it? What can you point to anything in it?
The reduction of harm. Andrew, you keep
where?
Where is
it?
Right. Again,
where is it?
I'm not going to use the exact words that are in it because
they're not in it.
Because
they're not in it.
Right? I'm not going to use the exact words. We're going to use what it represents, and what it represents is to not do harm. You keep coming up with things that are harmful, right? Let me get this through to you. Secular humanism will not do something that purposely causes harm. You keep saying
who determines what harm is?
Can you let me talk?
Who determines what harm is, Craig?
Collective experiences and empathy.
So if collective experience says this isn't harmful,
Collective experiences say that it is harmful, though. That is what collective experiences
But what if it
show.
didn't, Craig?
But
what if the collective experience of these people
But they
says
do,
that's
Andrew.
not harmful?
But they do, Andrew.
But if they didn't, though?
Right, well, in the same way, what if God said that you could do whatever
What
you
if he
want?
did? Answer my question.
Well, but collective experiences don't. It's a logical impossibility under the framework.
The unanswer of the first question loses, Craig. Answer my question.
Under the framework of secular humanism, that is a logical impossibility to do, right? I do not have to answer things that will never happen.
Let's start with what does logical impossibility mean?
It means that it's something that is logically impossible as a conclusion.
You can't use the words to describe the words, Craig.
Yes, you can.
What does logical impossibility mean?
It means that it is something that would not come as a result of conclusions of what's happening. If you look at the overall, if you look at the overall conclusions of what secular humanism gives, and look at that, the outcome would be a logical. My question is,
what does logical impossibility mean?
I'm trying to answer. It means that it is something that if you look at the overall conclusions of something and look at it logically, the outcome is an impossibility. If you look at all the conclusions of secular humanism, what it tries to promote, the logical impossibility of locking people up and causing harm comes from looking at those of the entirety of secular humanism. You keep coming up with questions of what if they locked people up?
Yeah,
what if they did
I just
that?
want to make sure we
it's
got
not
this
something
right.
that would happen in secular humanism.
Is Wolverine from the X-Men logically impossible?
Wolverine is from the X-Men, specifically the first.
No.
iteration
The
of
character, the Wolverine from the X-Men, the adamantium claws, the healing powers, is that logically impossible?
Using Copenhagen's interpretation of quantum mechanics, no.
No, it's not logically. So Wolverine is not logically impossible, right?
It could exist in a number of universes
Got
as far
it.
as we know.
But what is logically impossible is that a bunch of people can't get together and change what the meaning of harm is.
Well, again. But Andrew, you are missing the point of what collective experiences show us. We look at collective experiences throughout the world and we can see what harm is. You are just saying, well, what if they changed what harm is? But as humans, we know what
Craig,
harm is.
what if they change what the meaning of harm is, Craig?
You got 3 words out there, Andrew.
Can you answer the damn question, Craig?
I'm trying to, Andrew, and if you let me, that would be wonderful.
Oh, well, you see, the thing is that without answering the question never gets answered.
I am
so we're never going to actually answer the question because answering the question is an unanswered question.
Yep.
And what do they change the definition of harm, Craig?
Yeah, Andrew, I'm trying to let me answer the question. They won't change the definition of harm.
Oh, they won't?
No.
But Wolverine's logically possible.
So, secular humanism looks at what happens as experiences, and throughout humanity, we can know that locking people up and doing harm is a bad thing because it makes bad things happen. It makes people unhappy. It causes harm. It makes society a worse place.
What about when it doesn't cause harm, like when we lock criminals up?
So, the idea of locking criminals up, at least in the decent countries,
does it reduce harm, Craig?
Yes. When you
yes. Wait. So you just saying
wait.
Locking
No,
people
I'm trying
up.
To, Andrew.
Locking people up is going to reduce harm. Well,
Andrew,
not
am I allowed
really,
to talk?
right, Craig?
Am I allowed to talk?
Well, Craig, you've
Andrew,
been doing
am I allowed
nothing
to
but
talk?
talking.
Andrew, am I allowed to talk?
Yes, Craig, you're allowed
Andrew,
to
am I allowed
talk.
to talk?
Yes, Craig.
Right, Andrew.
But how long are you going to talk?
Andrew, am I allowed to talk?
For how long at once, though?
Okay, so you are being a flat earther here.
You're being an ethical flat earther.
What you're doing is you're not allowing the other person to talk and just laughing.
That's because you won't answer any questions.
I'm trying to answer the questions, but every
Craig,
time I do...
that's not answers filibuster.
No, you don't understand it as answers, Andrew, maybe because you're not a very intelligent person, but I'm not
sure.
One
day, Craig, I'll get to your level.
Oh. So would you like me to answer any of your questions, or are you going to let me get 3 words in?
the answers. Here's the thing. I'll make a deal with you. If you treat this in good faith, and you actually answer my questions, I'll actually answer yours. But don't filibuster.
I'm trying to.
Hang on. Don't filibuster and don't lie. Simple. Is it not the case that people change what the definition of harm is all the time? And by necessity, they have to do that, Craig, right? You have to change what the definition of harm is. So when you say, Andrew, it's logically impossible that people would change the definition of harm so that you could lock women up to do X, Y, Z to them, that's not actually logically impossible, is it?
Under the tenets of secular humanism, yes, it is.
Then show me where.
Secular humanism is about not doing harm and making
show me
things
where.
unhappy.
Show me where
Again,
in the humanist document it conflicts with this, since it says we can change our definition of what harm is anytime we want.
But the definition of harm is what it is. We know what harm is.
No, we don't know what harm is.
Yes, we do. Our collective experiences show us harm. If we make people unhappy, if we make people hurt, we make them die, we make them injured, that is harm. And as society, we can get together and say, well, we don't want those bad things to happen. What makes people depressed?
Yeah, but
what makes people... Andrew,
you
I am in the middle of answering your question.
And it can reduce harm, too.
Right. Andrew, I will answer your question, but you might need to let me get there.
Go ahead,
to
Craig.
set my stage.
Go ahead, Craig.
Right?
Calm down.
The problem is that you do not want to hear the answers. You just want your
Craig,
script
stop
to be...
talking.
I'm not going to stick to your script.
Get to the answer. Go.
Right. Do not talk. Let me answer. Because I've let you yap for ages. Good boy. Right. So, doing harm is, everyone knows what harm is. Everyone knows that harm
No, that's what's in question.
See, here we go.
That's literally what's in question, is whether or not everyone knows what harm is.
I'm trying to lay the foundation for my answer. If you let me get more than 3 or 4 words out, a few sentences at a time, Andrew, then this debate can happen. But you just want to overtalk me.
I'll give you a chance, Craig. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Right. So, as a collective, we can get together and say, what makes you unhappy? What makes you hurt? What stops you from advancing as a human? And that is harm. We can get a bunch of injured people together and say, how did that happen? This is harm. How do we stop these things? This is harm. What makes you unhappy? This is harm. And we can look at what makes that happen. You are trying to come up with a situation where harm can just be changed, and we can make harm not mean having harm. But that's not what secular humanism does, because as a society, as a collective as individuals, we would come up with to not do that to make everyone happy. People aren't going to be happy if we do that. Secular humanism wants people being happy.
Okay, then Craig, I just have a simple question for you. When it comes to child transition surgery, right, we have a split on whether or not that's harmful. Who should I side with? Who should I side with?
The position of that is something that I wouldn't want to get into, because... am I allowed to get my thoughts out?
What about harm?
Yeah.
My harm!
I didn't say I wasn't going to. I would say it's something I wouldn't want to. But again, I'm not allowed to get my words out here. Right. So as a collective society, we would get together and see what happens. And that is going through changes at the moment. Personally, I don't agree with that, right? And the current position within secular humanists seems to be that allowing children to transition is something that causes harm. Right? That is the position that I personally hold when I look at the evidence, and what other secular humanists are saying is that allowing children to transition causes harm, because children are not at a place where they are able to make that decision. Their brain is not fully developed, and especially people with, we look at neurodivergence, neurodivergence actually have a much higher percentage of wanting to transition and things like that, and that could be an effect of them being neurodivergent. So we have to look at individual cases, but personally, children in transition, because they are not ready to make that decision, their brains aren't fully developed until they're like the age of 25. So letting children do that before they have the ability to is in itself causing harm.
So then what's going on here, is just so you understand, I just demonstrated something very important to you. You said we know what harm is.
Yes.
Our collective experience demonstrates what harm is. Then I ask you a simple question. There's 2 different collections of people right now. One who believes that this is very harmful, and one, like you, who believes it's not very harmful.
And which one of those is secular humanists?
Which one of those? Well, humanists themselves disagree. Well, Matt Dillahunty, who's a humanist, for instance, is right as we speak probably sucking lady balls, right? Like that's actually true. So
Matt
hang on, stop.
Matt
Hey,
Dillahunty
stop, bro. It's my turn,
yeah.
bro. My turn. Calm down.
I'm
Calm
not
down,
Matt
bro.
Dillahunty.
Calm down. It's my
I'm
turn.
not Matt Dillahunty.
Calm down.
Right?
I didn't say you were.
Right. I'm not going to run away from a debate.
I didn't
because
say you
make some
were. I didn't tell you to
things,
run.
okay?
I didn't tell you anything. Calm down.
Right.
So anyway, back to where we were. What I'm saying is, he's a humanist. You're a humanist. Clearly, you fucking disagree about this.
Does Matt?
Stop, bro.
Just ask a quick question. Does he say specifically that he thinks children should transition?
Craig, calm down.
I'm just asking a question.
Craig,
Is that what he says?
Yes, but anyway, calm down.
I don't think that's what Matt says.
Humanists themselves, okay? Humanists themselves disagree.
Which
they
ones?
Stop, bro. Would you chill out for 2 seconds? They themselves disagree on even what a man is. They disagree on the prescriptions for children.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. And they disagree about all of these things within the very same framework you're talking about. The thing is like, that's fine. You can grant that humanists can disagree. As the peanut gallery was telling you, you can make the same criticism about the Bible. Theologically, people disagree all the time. Totally fair argument. What's not a fair argument is for you to say that it's logically impossible for us to redetermine what harm is under humanism. Of course we can redetermine what harm is under humanism. Why couldn't we? Why?
Because their collective experiences as humanity show us what harm is. And if we look at what has happened in the past with humanity, and we try to change it to go back to when it was harm, that would go against what secular humanism is. But to be clear, all secular, you are just lumping all kind of LGBTQ stuff as secular humanists. That's not just secular humanists that hold those positions. So you can be someone
No, that was just a
is
demonstration.
LGBTQ and not be a secular
Yeah, no,
humanist.
I was
Let's not
demonstrating
mix
something,
those two
not
up,
making
okay?
it about LGBTQ. I'm demonstrating that within this worldview, there's disagreement within it. That's fine, right? I'm not making that as a criticism.
But just to be clear, that's not a secular humanist view, though. That's just a human view.
Craig, I'm not making that the critique.
But you just did, though, Andrew.
No,
you made that
no,
critique in
the
front of all
critique-
these people.
the
Why are you
critique-
lying? You
the
made that critique,
that
and
I
then
made was about harm, the principle of harm. I'm giving you an analogy to the principle of harm and saying, even if you say it's logically impossible for us to change what harm is based on collective human experience, that can't be true, because even we all right now share experiences and disagree about what is harmful based on those experiences. When you say that that's logically impossible, I need that actually demonstrated, Craig. That's what I'm saying to you.
humanity demonstrates that, Andrew.
How?
Because of what has happened to humanity throughout history, right? That is what lets us decide what is harm. Let's look at the last 200 years and the amount of harm that has happened, the amount of wars that have happened, the amount of bad things that have happened. We can look back at the past 200 years and go, well, what about that has caused harm? And then we can look to the future to say, well, how can we stop that happening? And if we look at the suffering and the unhappiness and the death and destruction that has come from all the bad things, that a lot of it is because of holy wars and fighting over whatever my particular God says, and we can say, well, how can we make the harm from that not happen? And all we have to do is look at what has happened throughout history and how that affects humanity
this is a great
to
example,
get to the
Craig.
decision.
So let's take a look here. When you say war is very harmful, right? At the same time, you also say population reduction is actually probably pretty good.
I didn't say population reduction. Let's
Well,
be
okay.
clear. I said
Low
a lower
population.
birth. I said a slightly lower birth rate is not a bad thing.
Slightly
a
lower
slightly lower
birth
birth rate still increases
The
population.
birth rate is going to go down if more men are dead, right, Craig?
Yeah, because war's
Okay,
bad.
great. So since we've established that, if I say I think that actually these wars cause less harm to society because, well, it got the population down, and that actually is good for us long term. I have now made an argument for how I've reduced harm. Craig, if you disagree with that harm principle, right? We both disagree with it.
That's not what I
Would
said,
you chill out for a second? If we both disagree with that harm principle, right? Our collective experiences can come to wildly different conclusions. If that's the case, I need you to have something I can default to look at, which would descriptively tell me why it is my harm principle or what I consider harm to be is wrong.
But
I have this thing called the Bible and church authority. You have a Humanist Manifesto to answer those kinds of questions. Where in the Humanist Manifesto can I find out that if I want to, I don't know, lock all the women up and breed them, that's actually morally wrong?
Okay.
Craig, where?
So, you are misunderstanding what the manifesto is for. The manifesto is a guideline. And then based on that guideline, people will get together and make decisions. Nobody is going to make a single decision that everybody then follows, like in your screwed up version of the world, where you can refer to a magic sky daddy as the absolute normative authority. It's ridiculous.
Instead of our Earth Daddy?
Right,
Instead of your Earth Daddy?
You notice how I let you talk.
Oh, I can't believe God did that.
You,
I can't
you
believe
notice how I
did
let
that.
you talk,
It's the
Andrew.
same- it's
You
the
notice
same
how I let
thing.
you talk.
Go ahead,
Right.
bro. Go ahead.
So once again, we don't need a normative authority. We don't need a one set of particular rules. What we need is a framework that we can get together and discuss to assess what is going to happen. We don't need a one particular person or one person's interpretation or one divine commandment to follow. We
don't need a normative authority?
No, we don't. Why would we?
Well, I don't understand. When you have a collective of people who decide based on your manifesto and they're interpreting it to give you prescriptions, what do you call that?
Not a normative authority because
What is it?
It's not.
What is it?
It is a framework that you would get together and discuss.
No, not the framework. I'm not saying that the framework is your normative authority. Like you said, that's a framework.
Yeah.
All
And
the
that's what
people,
gives us the
all
guidelines
the
for the
people who
framework.
get together to decide the prescriptions based on the framework would be referred to as a normative.
No, that normative authority is a single thing, right? Not a collection of people.
Do you
getting
know what a
together and making
normative
decisions.
authority even is, Craig?
Give me your definition of it, then.
No, Craig, I'm not going to give you your definition for normative authority. What is it?
It's a single prescription for something coming from a particular set of rules.
Look it up real quick, Craig.
Oh, tell me if
I'm
I'm
going
wrong.
to stop. I'll stop.
Right, tell me if I'm wrong.
Pull up normative authority.
Right,
Yeah.
tell me if I'm wrong.
So normative, philosophically, right? It's like an ought claim, right? What we ought to do.
Yeah.
If you have a normative authority, what is that doing? It's an authority expressing what you should be doing. So in the church, right, we would be referring to our ecclesiastical authority as our normative authority, meaning here's our framework, here's our church framework, this is our normative authority telling us what we ought to do. Same thing with the Bible, a normative authority telling us what we ought to do. If you have a bunch of people who get together and they make prescriptions based off of this manifesto that you're supposed to follow, those would be called what?
Okay, right.
What would they be called, Craig?
I can see I'm wrong.
What would
Okay,
got
right.
it.
Okay.
So hang on.
Right,
And by the way, that's the
I
first time ever. Congratulations, Craig.
want to be clear.
Congratulations, Craig.
Right? Woo. I want to be clear. Right? This is only ever my second debate within this field, and I might not be completely up to date on all the vernacular and everything. So if I get certain words wrong and stuff, hey, I'm going to hold my hand up.
And I'm not going to hold it. I'm not going to hold that against you, dude.
Right? So
I'm not going to hold it against you. Go ahead.
The point I'm trying to make is, instead of going to like a single position, like the God says, right? Instead, what we do is we get together and we decide collectively based on what we feel is better to stop the harm. Okay? And
that's a normative authority.
okay, right. I can see that I was wrong on that point. Absolutely,
Yeah.
that is normative
So
authority.
my whole point
right?
here isn't to beat you up about being wrong in a debate. I'm wrong in debates all the time, just not in this one.
That's how we learn, right?
What I'm saying, what I'm saying to you here, Craig, is just this: if you have to have a normative authority, people who get together who make prescriptions, right? What they're doing is they're using your framework. So in Christianity, we would do the same thing. We're going to use the framework of the Bible, the teachings of Jesus Christ, and then we're going to have a normative authority, an ecclesiastical structure, which helps interpret that framework so that we know what we should or shouldn't do. Now, this is the same exact thing you're doing, but the thing is I can use the framework, which is the Bible, to debunk the prescriptions that I've made against the manifesto. You can't do that with your manifesto. That's my point.
Right. Again, you're using the manifesto wrong.
Okay.
And I've explained why, and I do feel like we're just going round in circles.
No, this is actually important.
Right.
I would like to actually know how I'm using it wrong. Go ahead.
I'm trying to, because again, it's not a set of rules like the Bible, right? Like that's not set out the same way. It's not saying this is exactly what you need to do.
Right.
Right. It is something that we will get together as a collective and say, right, and this is how we think will make a better society. And if something in society happens and we need to adjust that, we can adapt as society evolves. But the overall point of it is to reduce harm and increase flourishing. And you can't do that if you're doing something that is causing unhappiness, causing unhealthiness, causing injury, and feelings of not being happy. That is against what the secular humanism.
So this makes
manifesto
sense.
goes,
So
right?
what you're saying, and I'm just going to steel man again to make sure I'm not getting it wrong. I don't want you to say I'm straw manning you. What you're saying is that this framework, which is Humanist 3, the manifesto, this is a framework which is not giving prescriptions, but rather it's a framework which is used by a collective body to give prescriptions, right?
I wouldn't say prescriptions, more.
What you ought to do?
No.
No.
What is better for helping society?
Well, should we do what's better?
It doesn't try to give rules. It doesn't try to say this is exactly what you should do.
I'm not saying it does.
Right? It just says if you want to have a healthier society, then this is the way to do it.
So it's being interpreted, right?
By a collective, yes.
Okay, got it.
Right.
So if a collective of Christians interpret this to say, under 1 here, that knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experiment, and rational analysis, if the prescription they come up with is the birth rate is low, therefore all women must be forcibly bred, why are they wrong?
Because they would have to show why birth rate is a bad thing for lower birth rate is a bad thing for humanity.
Why would they have to show that? There's nothing in the manifesto, the guiding stone from which they're making their prescriptions, that says that in any way contradicts with the framework itself.
Well, what we would do in that case, again, as humanists, we would get together and we would say, is this going to cause harm? Then yes. Well, then we won't do that.
Yeah, I know. So what if they got together and said, actually, I think that this will lower harm?
what if God said lock people up?
Yeah, no, but what if they said...
Yeah, but what if God said it was okay to do it?
What if he did? So anyway,
so would
the
you,
prescription...
right, so let's ask, because you're
just moving the goalposts.
Yeah, that's fine, but all you've done so far is ask me questions about mine, right? So I'm going to ask you questions about yours. What if God said it was okay to lock women up?
What if he did? Let's just say Christianity is a complete lie, all of it's nonsense, all of it's BS. We're talking about the effects of society.
So you're trying to get rid... Yeah, okay, so if... how would Christianity deal with this then? If we said, okay, there's a lower birth rate, let's lock people up and experiment on them to make higher birth rates, what would Christianity say about
Our
that?
ecclesiastical authority would say you're not allowed to do that.
Which one?
Well, in fact, here's how I would define Christian, if you want to make it easy. It's people who believe in the Nicene Creed, people who accept the Nicene Creed. All people who accept the Nicene Creed would now fit on the category of Christians. All of them would have the same moral framework, which would say that this is
And which
immoral.
moral framework specifically, cite me the specific thing that says you can't lock women up and experiment on them to stop a lower birth rate.
You mean the Ten Commandments?
Yeah, where is that?
You want me to pull up the Ten Commandments for you?
Then go to the other 260 rules as well.
You mean Noahide laws?
Well, they're part of Christianity, right?
No, not Noahide laws.
Well, some Christians would disagree with you.
Not the ones who believe in the Nicene Creed.
Well, okay, so you are saying that Christians that don't believe in the Nicene Creed aren't Christians.
Yes.
Well,
Greg,
again,
yes.
they think they're Christians.
That's what I'm saying.
But
yes.
here's the thing: they think they're Christians.
Well, right now I think I'm a humanist. Am I?
Do you think that?
Am I a humanist right now, Craig? Because I made humanist prescriptions.
Do you think you're a humanist?
Yes.
Okay, then you can be. No, there's nothing.
No.
You can be a Christian. You can be a Christian and be a humanist. There's nothing wrong with that. You can be a Christian and be a humanist.
Okay.
Right.
Then my prescriptions are humanist prescriptions.
But if you could be a humanist, a Christian, and be a humanist, because humanism lets you have freedom of religion. But what you're saying right now is, I'm deciding what Christian is. But you don't get to decide what Christianity is because other Christians would disagree with you. And to be clear, you are here to defend all of Christianity, not just...
No, I'm not here to defend Christianity at all. I'm here to defend the
actually
effects of it on society.
Yeah, what you're trying to do is why Christianity is better for society.
Yeah.
So that means you have to go for all...
Would it matter?
Hold on, let me finish my point,
go
please.
Go
that
ahead.
means that you have to defend all of Christianity, not just the Christianity that you think is Christianity, because there's a lot of Christians that disagree with your definition of Christianity, but that doesn't matter. As a Christian, you still you are here to defend every version of Christianity. That includes the Christianity of Ethiopia that hold the ancient texts that you don't believe in, because they still call themselves Christians.
They're still better for society than humanists. Like, what are you talking? All I'm here to do is to defend whether or not. Craig, my turn, Craig. All I'm here to do is to defend the effects on society of Christianity versus humanism.
Right, so let's look at that.
Stop. I'm arguing that there is no real effect from humanism on society because it has this intrinsic problem. The problem is...
Doing no harm.
No.
I went through it in my intro, right?
Craig, chill out.
But let's look at Christianity.
Craig, chill out, Craig.
Andrew, right.
I just let you talk, Craig.
Andrew, all you've done so far
Craig,
is
chill
attack...
out, Craig.
One second. I want to... Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm saying to you, Craig, is that because you suffer from this problem of your framework, right, has to be interpreted by your authority, which is the same exact criticism you're levying against Christianity, by the way. You say it's logically impossible for the definition of harm to change because collectively we're just not going to change it.
Well, no,
right?
Said it's impossible
Craig,
to change to your definition of harm.
Give me 10 seconds.
Well, if you strawman me, I need to just let you know that that's not what I said.
Okay, calm down. You get a chance.
So I didn't say that.
Okay,
so just
get a chance, Craig. Calm down.
I'll give you a chance to wrap up, Andrew, and then we'll kick it back to Craig.
Yeah. So anyway, the point here is that when I look at society, I don't see any effects from humanism. I see a lot of effects from Christianity, and a lot of them are really positive. Your humanist effects don't even exist because all you're saying is this. We use this like manifesto, this loose document of ideas that anybody, including a Christian humanist, can come up with the prescription that we're going to lock women up and forcibly breed them, and you can't actually use your framework to tell them why that's wrong. You have to appeal to something outside of it. In this case, I don't know, loose libertarian print. Like, I don't know what principles you're even adhering to outside of it that make you a humanist now.
Let's kick it back to Craig.
Right. So individual autonomy prioritizes human welfare. There is nothing about human welfare that says locking women up and experimenting on them is good.
There's nothing that doesn't.
Well, there is, because it's human. That is against ethics and justice. It's not.
Where? Show me where it says that.
It advocates for human rights, and humans have rights.
Yeah, what does that mean, though? It's nowhere in your document.
Again, these are things that you can, from the Humanist Manifesto, gather. And
No, you
humanists get
can't.
together
I
and
have it
agree
in
with
front
that,
of me. I
right?
interpreted it totally different.
But then you don't get to individually decide what that is, though.
Why not?
Because that you're not a collective. You're a person, Andrew.
So-
right?
so-
let's look at the let's look at how
Okay.
let's look at Christianity,
Let's.
and let me ask you some questions about how Christianity is better for society.
Okay.
How is stoning people to death that work on the Sabbath better for society?
Does anybody in any Christian nation stone anybody to death?
It doesn't matter. The Bible says that you can.
Does anybody, are we talking about whether the Bible's true or the effects of Christianity on society?
Now,
Is there
that
a
has done-
single society which is Christian where they stone people to death,
That
Greg?
wasn't what I said.
So then what the fuck are you talking about?
So, but the Bible says that you can do that, though, right? So if we say
if the Bible says you could do it, Craig,
Yeah.
why aren't Christians doing it?
a lot of them do.
Where?
There is
Where?
There is many horrible Christians around the world. There is a Christian family that I was reading about where they had.
Can I see a show of hands for all the Christians who are here who
do
have
you-
ever
do you-
stoned anybody to
Do you,
death?
want, do you want me to speak?
I do
Yeah.
want to give.
You look like the
I wanna
type.
Give Craig a
So,
chance.
am I allowed? Right.
Go ahead.
Just
Let's give
because
Craig
you
a
don't
chance.
do that now doesn't mean that Christianity doesn't say that that's okay. Right? You're not here to say, well,
Then why aren't they doing it?
You aren't here to say, well, why aren't they doing it?
Yes, I am. I'm here to say the effects of Christianity on
here-
society are better. You want me to demonstrate
You aren't
it?
here to.
Look,
I got
we-
5
we
words
can
out.
do
Five
A,
word-
B, C, D.
5 words out. I got 5 words out, people.
Can you just show me where they're stoning?
I got 5 words out, people.
Where are
but
Christians stoning
little boy
people
here,
to death?
Andrew, can.
Where are Christians
5
stoning
words.
people to
I got
death,
5
bro?
words out, Andrew.
Okay, go ahead, Craig. Tell
Thank
us
you.
where they're stoning people to death.
Right. Okay. So the Bible says that you can stone people to death. The Bible says that you can beat your slave until it's fine until he gets up. The Bible says that women shouldn't vote and read and all of that. So it doesn't matter that that is not particularly what happens now. That is what Christianity says is okay. So
you should be able to point to a bunch of Christian countries where women can't read,
question
right?
out? Did I get my question out, Andrew?
Well, okay, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Craig.
So take a deep breath.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
sorry I interrupted your interruption. Go ahead.
Right. So Christianity has the Bible as its guidelines. And the Bible says that you can do these things. Whether or not that happens now is because people are moral in general, but it doesn't matter. Christianity specifically says that you can do these things and it's okay. So yes, it does. The Bible absolutely says that you can beat your slave. That is, it
Craig, I'm willing to engage with each of these.
So
Go
let me
ahead.
ask you, how does those specific things that the Bible say that you can do make it better for society? How does suppressing women's rights and women's ability to read and talk, how is that better for society? Because the Bible says that you should do that.
Okay, so let's take them one at a time. There is no Christian nation I'm aware of where women are getting
I
stoned
didn't
to
ask
death.
about Christian nation. Let's be
What-
clear.
what's
But
the-
can you answer my question?
Well,
I
is the
said,
debate-
how does the Bible?
Yeah, is the debate over whether the Bible is true or is it the effects of Christianity on society?
No, it's not. It's about which is better for society,
Great,
not
it's
the
which
effects.
is better. So let's go
Yeah,
over
so-
to which is better. When you're talking about what is better, when he says the Bible makes prescriptions that you can stone people to death, the Bible makes prescriptions that women be oppressed. The Bible makes prescriptions that women not be able to read. The Bible makes these prescriptions, right?
So how are they better
Let's
for
assume
society?
for a second the Bible does make those prescriptions.
It does, yeah.
And we just very stupidly, as Christians, misinterpreted all of that to mean the exact opposite, which must have happened because in all of these Christian nations, none of that shit's happening. Nobody's getting stoned to death, Craig, anywhere. Women in a
are you
Christian
sure?
women in Christian nations.
Are you sure about
Yes,
that?
I'm sure in all Christian nations, women aren't getting stoned to death.
Are you
All
sure?
of them.
Absolutely 100%
I'm
sure?
absolutely sure, Craig.
So you're
now,
absolutely
Craig,
sure?
Craig, let me finish, Craig. I'm also sure that in Christian nations, women can learn to read. Where are women oppressed in Christian nations? Where is all this happening, Craig? So either all of the Christians are really fucking up their own documents real bad, or your interpretation of the documents must be really wrong. However,
not
even
interpreting
if
anything.
we're going to assume your interpretation of the documents is 100% correct and all the Christians got it wrong, their societies are still great, Craig. They're fantastic. Nobody's getting stoned in them. No one's getting beat to death in them.
Which Christian societies in particular are great?
You mean societies where the overwhelming majority of people are Christian?
Which ones are they?
Yeah, that would be all of the West. All of it.
And why are they so good in particular?
Because they have an ethical framework which they can appeal to that's unchanging.
And is the ethical framework of those countries Christianity?
Yes.
So Christianity set the ethical framework for all of these countries?
Yes.
Specifically?
Yes.
So
Now, you want me
even
to,
the ones that
would
go
you like me
against
to
the things that
demonstrate
the
it
Bible
for you?
says.
I'll demonstrate it for you.
Right.
So hang on, I'll explain it so that you know.
I still haven't got back to
I'm
my
going to
question.
explain
though.
it to you. You just asked me, so I'm going to explain it to you. So your law, the laws that you're working with right now, those come from English common law. Okay, that's where it all comes from. The normative authority around English common law is Christianity.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. The very
it's not.
guidestones for yes, it is, and the very guidestones for which
Not anymore. It's not. No.
for which you build law. When you're talking, not anymore. I said the foundations.
No,
The foundations
it's
isn't-
completely changed.
Okay,
we,
so
don't,
anyway,
we do not base
Craig,
our laws. There's
what does
nothing,
foundation
There is
mean?
nothing in English law now that is based on Christianity.
Yeah, I'm talking about its foundations.
But we
The
don't
things in which
use
you
that anymore.
enjoy-
The laws have
the
changed.
things in which you enjoy. Here's how it works.
You're
When
claiming
you're
it's
talking
Christianity,
about,
but it's not.
when
You're just
talking
saying
about
something.
a society, when you're talking about a society, the social order is defined by its ethical morals. For instance, Aztecs, who put people on temples and cut their hearts out as human sacrifices, their society is going to be informed
Where's the Aztecs
by
right
the
now?
moral. They're dead because Christians killed them.
Oh, that's good. Oh, the Christians killed them.
You should have
Lovely.
left those heathen heart-cutting out people. Come on. But anyway, the point is that from Craig,
hold on.
calm down. I just want to finish one point and then you can
Okay.
talk. I promise.
Okay, finish your point.
So here it is. I think, and every reasonable sociologist would think the same thing, that the social order comes from the foundational ethics. So it works like this. Theology is what informs society. And you can see that happen with the political class as well, who comes from society in general. If you have a moral political class, generally speaking, you have a good set of ethics or theology which you can appeal to, right? As we see Christianity being moved out of these nations for secularists, does it look less corrupt? Or does it look more corrupt? Well, I say it looks more corrupt because they no longer have the ethical foundations to appeal to. They don't have the theology to appeal to. It doesn't even matter if it's true. Like, let's say it's all false. All Christianity is totally false, totally fake. They made it all up. It's based on a noble lie, right? But everybody believes it, and so it gives you all these great outcomes, right? Why would a humanist even argue that? Why would you even want to argue with it? It makes no sense to me.